My name is Evelyn Carter, and if you're hearing my voice, it's because I finally found the courage to stitch together the scraps of a story I never wanted to live through. I'm 66, a widow with a tidy kitchen, a porch full of potted basil, and one rule that kept our house balanced after my husband passed. Breakfast dishes are washed before the kettle cools. That morning looked ordinary enough to be trusted. Michael, my oldest, had left before sunrise with a rolled-up set of plans under his arm. Lucas, our 7-year-old, all elbows and questions, had scrambled to the bus with his backpack thumping like a second heart. And Camilla, Michael's wife, had padded up the stairs with a smile and a white blouse that always made her look like Sunday. "Mama Evelyn, I'm grabbing a quick shower," she called, voice warm as steam. I heard the bathroom door click, then the steady hiss of water, a soft church organ of sound above the clatter of my cups. I was drying the last plate when the landline rang. I still keep that phone because its bell is honest, and honest sounds matter. Daniel's laugh came through first, my younger one, a pilot who still tells me when he changes time zones, as if he were 12 and asking permission to stay out after dark. "Ma, I've got a layover window, just wanted to say hi." The kitchen felt like it always did when he called, brighter, lighter. He told me his co-pilot hated instant coffee. I told him the sparrows had learned to bully the blue jays off my feeder. We were ourselves for a minute. Then his breath thinned. "Hey, this is going to sound insane," he said, words shrinking as if they were sneaking past someone else's door. "Is Camilla at the house?" I looked toward the staircase. There was water, and there was singing, faint, tasteful, in Spanish, like a memory of a tune, the kind you hum without knowing you remember it. "Of course she is," I said, drying my hands on the apron with the embroidered lemons. "She's upstairs." Shower running. Daniel went quiet, long enough that I could hear airport things, the cough of a jet, a PA announcement chopped by static, a child protesting gravity. His voice returned lower, careful. "Mom, that's not possible. I have her passport. She boarded my flight to Paris 20 minutes ago. I watched her take 2A. She's next to some guy who looks like money. They're sitting too close for strangers." The plate in my hand nearly escaped me. I glanced up the stairs again, as if my eyes could climb them faster than my body. The shower was still a steady whisper, and I heard the faint slap of the curtain rings when she moved. "Daniel, sweetheart," I said, like I speak to him when turbulence goes from light to moderate. "You're tired. Mistaken, maybe." "I thought that," he said, stubborn but gentle. So I walked the cabin. I looked twice. Her photo matches the passport in my hand and the woman in 2A. "Mom, I'm looking at her right now." I wanted to laugh and couldn't find the part of me that laughs. I wandered toward the living room, blind without needing to be. The family photos on the wall, Michael in a tux, Camilla in lace. Lucas wrapped like a present, looked steadier than the people still breathing. "Hold on," I whispered, because the floor under me felt treacherous. The water upstairs shut off. Silence climbed down the staircase before footsteps did. "Mama Evelyn? Who's on the phone?" Camilla's voice floated down, sweet and unbothered. I saw only the edge of her, an arm with beads of water, hair dark and dripping like a silk rope. I cupped the receiver. "Just an old friend," I said too brightly, and shut the living room door as if wood could keep reality from multiplying. "Daniel," I breathed, letting the door hold my back up. "She's here. I just heard her. She turned off the shower." "Mom," he said, and the word was a verdict, not a comfort. "It's her. Blue blazer, diamond studs, laughing with him like they've been laughing for years." I hung up because I didn't know what else to hang on to. The room looked dishonest, the sunlight too clean for what I'd just heard. My heart knocked like someone trapped in a trunk. I pressed my hand to my chest the way older women do in movies, and realized there's a reason we do it. The kettle clicked as if nothing at all had split in two. Minutes later, Camilla came down in a light blue dress, hair damp, skin flushed with the polite glow of warm water. "I'm going to the market early," she said, finding my eyes with the calm of a nurse who's seen worse. "Do you need tomatoes? The heirlooms looked good yesterday." She lifted the wicker basket with her left hand, and that tiny sideways fact lodged like a grain of sand. She had always been a right-handed woman. I told myself I was old enough to misremember and young enough to be suspicious. "Tomatoes," I said, voice drawn thin. She kissed my cheek, light as a signature, and left, her silhouette blinking in sun as the gate clicked behind her. The house exhaled. I stood in the doorway staring at nothing, holding a silence I didn't know where to put. Upstairs, the bathroom mirror would still be fogged with the breath of a woman Daniel swore was in 2A, flying over the Atlantic toward a city where secrets look like style. My ears rang with the absence of water, and in that ringing, a sentence arrived and would not leave. If she is here, who is there? And if she is there, who just walked through my hall? I tried to shake it off that afternoon, telling myself Daniel must have been mistaken. Airports were noisy. Passengers looked alike. Maybe the woman in 2A just resembled Camilla. I clung to that explanation like a rope in floodwater, but the rope frayed the more I pulled on it. Camilla returned from the market humming, her basket lighter than the excuse she carried. She laid out tomatoes and cilantro on the counter, and with the care of a pianist, she unwrapped a fresh fish. "Mama Evelyn," she said sweetly, "tonight I'll make your favorite, baked fish with garlic butter." Her left hand moved the knife with surprising precision. I watched the knife glide through scales, sharp and sure, and something inside me shivered. She was using her left hand again. I remembered her neatly written grocery lists, always signed with her right. My mind tried to shrug it off as playfulness, but my gut whispered a harsher name: inconsistency. I made a decision that night. After everyone had gone to bed, I dug an old spiral notebook from my sewing basket. On the first page, with trembling fingers, I wrote, September 3rd, 3 p.m. Camilla left with red basket. Returned 6 p.m. with blue basket. Claimed one broke. Attitude polite, but voice rushed. It looked foolish in ink, but once written, it became fact. I told myself it was only for my peace of mind, but part of me knew I was collecting evidence. The next day, Lucas ran into the kitchen, his backpack bouncing like a second heartbeat. He dropped it and pulled out his homework notebook. "Grandma, look what Mom wrote yesterday and today." His small finger pointed to 2 pages. One was neat and even, the other jagged and clumsy. "Yesterday she helped me with her right hand. Today she used her left, and it looks ugly." My stomach turned. I stroked his head gently. "She must have been tired, honey." Lucas's little voice tightened. "Grandma, sometimes she hugs me so tight I can't breathe. But other days she doesn't even look at me. I don't like when she's that mom." Children don't lie in those tones. His words cut deeper than Daniel's warning. That evening, the doorbell rang. It was Helen Collins, my neighbor of 30 years, standing with a plate Camilla had returned to her the day before. Helen's eyes, sharp as a needle despite her age, studied me. "Evelyn, your daughter-in-law is very kind, but something odd. Yesterday she gave me this plate with her left hand." "You always said she was right-handed, no?" I forced a chuckle. "Maybe she's ambidextrous. These young people surprise us." Helen smiled but didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. When she left, I collapsed into my armchair, gripping the plate as if it carried more than food. A week later, I went to buy bread from Mr. Johnson's bakery. His wife was serving customers when he leaned over the counter. "Mrs. Carter, your daughter-in-law came in yesterday, cheerful as spring, complimenting my loaves. But this morning she came back stiff, barely said a word, looked through me." I muttered something about stress and hurried home, but my chest burned. Even strangers saw the split in her. That night, during dinner, Michael tried to lighten the mood by asking Lucas about school. Camilla nodded along politely. But when Lucas accidentally spilled his glass of milk, Camilla snapped. "Lucas, you're so clumsy. Can't you sit properly?" Her voice cracked like a whip. Michael frowned. "Camilla, it was just an accident. Don't be so hard on him." She glared at him. You always defend him. You make me look like the villain in this house." The silence that followed was heavier than broken glass. Lucas's eyes filled with tears. I pulled him close, my heart aching. 2 nights ago, Camilla had sung him a lullaby with tenderness. Now she looked at him like he was a burden. Later, I added another entry to my notebook. Dinner, September 10th. Camilla irritable, voice sharp, called Lucas clumsy. Michael defended him. Atmosphere tense. Hand used, left. The ink bled slightly where my hand trembled. The pages were no longer just notes. They were witness testimonies. Still, doubt gnawed at me. Was I imagining? Was age playing tricks on me? Or was Camilla weaving a net around us, one so fine we didn't notice we were already caught? One morning, Lucas clutched my hand as we walked to school. He stopped mid-step, his small face clouded. "Grandma?" he whispered. "Yesterday, Mom sang Cielito Lindo to me, the song you sing, but today she didn't even say goodnight." My knees weakened. That lullaby was mine, only mine. I had sung it to Michael and Daniel as babies. Camilla should not have known it, unless the woman who sang it wasn't Camilla at all. That night I sat by the window, pen in hand, and wrote one line I feared to admit even to myself. Maybe she is not the same woman every day. The words stared back at me, raw and merciless. The house creaked as if it too had begun to doubt the woman living inside it. I would have torn those words out of the notebook if not for Margaret. She'd been my best friend since we were girls, 2 stubborn teenagers sneaking lemonade on the church steps. She's the one person who could read my silences. When she came over with a bag of oranges, she squinted at me. "Evelyn, you've got shadows under your eyes. Spill it. What's gnawing at you?" I hesitated. The truth sounded like madness even in my own head, but my chest was too heavy to carry alone. I handed her the notebook. She flipped through the pages, her lips tightening with every line. When she reached the one that read, "Maybe she is not the same woman every day," she looked up sharply. "You're not crazy," Margaret said. Her voice was crisp, practical. "If even Lucas notices it, and your neighbors too, then something is happening. You can't close your eyes anymore. Follow her. See where she goes." I wanted to protest. Following someone felt like betrayal, but Margaret cut me off with a firmness only a lifelong friend can get away with. "Evelyn, this is your family. Better a hard truth than a blind ruin." Her words rang in my ears for days. So the next weekend, when Michael left for work and Lucas went to a school event, the house was just Camilla and me. She floated down the stairs in a yellow floral dress, glowing like sunlight dressed itself in fabric. She smiled. "Mama Evelyn, I'm going to the market. Don't wait up." She lifted her basket, and I heard Margaret's voice in my head. "Follow her." I wrapped a shawl around my shoulders, pulled the brim of my hat low, and slipped out a few steps after her. The sun was merciless, but I barely felt it. Camilla walked briskly, basket swinging, hair catching glints of gold. At the corner, she should have turned right toward the market. Instead, she veered left into a narrow lane where the houses leaned together like tired old men. Paint peeled, doors sagged, laundry flapped overhead like surrendered flags. My heart hammered. I slowed, ducking behind a row of bicycles. Camilla didn't glance back. She walked deeper into the alley, stopping in front of a wooden door stained with water and age. She knocked softly, twice, and someone let her in. The door closed. I stood there, breathless. The market was a lie. She wasn't buying tomatoes or fish. She was vanishing into a place that smelled of rust and old secrets. My instincts screamed to march over, bang on that door, and demand answers, but my legs felt nailed to the ground. I don't know how long I stood there, clutching my shawl, before shame drove me home. My feet dragged across the cobblestones. When I opened our gate, I froze. Camilla was in the kitchen. She wore a crisp white blouse, different from the yellow dress she had just disappeared in. Her hair was pinned back neatly, not a strand out of place. She chopped vegetables with the calm rhythm of a woman who'd been there all afternoon. When she looked up, her eyes were sharper than usual. "Where did you go, Mama Evelyn? You're late coming back." The knife gleamed in her hand. I swallowed, my mouth dry. Just for a walk." Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You should be careful. These streets aren't safe." I nodded quickly, retreating to my room. I closed the door and leaned against it, my knees trembling. I had followed her. I had seen her walk into that alley in a yellow dress. And yet, here she was in my kitchen, in different clothes, asking me where I had been. That night I couldn't sleep. Lucas crept into my room, eyes wet. "Grandma, Mom yelled at me just for dropping a pencil. Yesterday she was nice. Today she's scary." I hugged him, but his words cut deep. Each day there was a different Camilla, one tender, one cruel. Maybe it wasn't mood. Maybe it wasn't stress. Maybe it wasn't even the same woman. I reached for my notebook in the dark and wrote with a shaking hand, followed her, entered old house, yellow dress, returned home, white blouse, chopping vegetables, voice sharp, asked where I had been. The pen left a blot on the paper like a wound that wouldn't close. I woke the next morning with grit in my eyes and resolve in my bones. Pretending nothing was wrong was no longer an option. Margaret's words returned to me. Better a hard truth than a blind ruin. I decided I would go back to that alley, even if it meant tearing open a secret that would bleed us all. I took the framed wedding photo of Michael and Camilla from the living room wall, tucked it into my bag, and set out. The September sun was merciless, baking the asphalt, but inside I felt cold. The alley was quieter than I remembered. Shadows pooled against the walls. A woman fanned coals at a food cart nearby. I showed her the photo, my voice faltering. "Have you seen this young woman?" She nodded without hesitation. "Si, señora. She goes into number 14 often. That house there." Number 14 was a crumbling building, its paint blistered, its door scarred. A wilted pot of daisies slumped on the windowsill. My knees shook as I approached. I knocked. Once. Twice. The door opened and my breath left me. Standing there was Camilla, or her double. The same sharp cheekbones, the same dark eyes, but something different. Her expression wasn't polished confidence, it was fear. Her hands shook around a rag she clutched like a shield. I stammered. "Camilla?" Her face drained of color. She tried to shut the door, but a voice from inside stopped her. "Isela, don't hide. You know she deserves to know." Another young woman appeared, a stranger, hair tied back, posture calm. She gave me a small, steady smile. "I'm Lucy. Please come in, Mrs. Carter. It's time you learn the truth." The house smelled of disinfectant and damp clothes. A frail man coughed on a cot in the corner, ribs straining under a thin blanket. The walls sweated with neglect. I sat in a wooden chair, clutching my bag. The woman who looked like Camilla lowered her eyes. Her voice was soft, broken. "I'm not Camilla. My name is Isela. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." The room tilted around me. "Then why?" I whispered. "Do you look exactly like my daughter-in-law?" Lucy poured me a glass of water and spoke firmly. "Because they are twins, Mrs. Carter, separated at birth. Camilla found her by chance years ago and has used her ever since. Whenever Camilla needed to vanish, she paid Isela to take her place." My heart pounded. Take her place? For what? Isela's tears dropped onto the rag. She'd tell me to stay at the house, cook, shop, sometimes sing to the boy. She paid me enough to buy my father's medicine. I didn't ask questions. She gestured to the frail man on the cot. We had nothing. I couldn't refuse. My mind flashed with every inconsistency, the handwriting that changed hands, the swing from sweetness to cruelty, the lullaby sung by lips that shouldn't know it. The puzzle fit together too perfectly, and it made me sick. Lucy's voice cut through my thoughts. I once saw Camilla with a man named Henry Doyle. Rich, powerful. They were affectionate. Isela was waiting outside in the car. I think that's where Camilla disappears to. Henry Doyle. The name pressed into me like a brand. I remembered Daniel's voice on the phone. She's sitting next to a man in first class. They're too close for strangers. I looked at Isela. She hid her face in her hands, sobbing. I thought she cared for me. I thought she might help me find our parents, but she only used me. I forced my voice steady. Isela, I don't blame you. You did this out of desperation. But Camilla, she brought you into our home to cover her tracks. She's deceived Michael. She's played with Lucas's heart. She's mocking us all. Isela looked up, her eyes red, her voice trembling but resolute. I'll help you, Mrs. Carter. I don't want to live in this lie anymore. My gaze drifted to the wedding photo in my bag. Michael, smiling, Camilla radiant beside him. How fragile the picture now seemed, how hollow. That night, back home, I wrote in my notebook with a shaking hand. Met Isela, identical to Camilla. Twin sister, abandoned. Paid to impersonate her. Camilla's secret life with Henry Doyle. I closed the notebook and pressed it to my chest. The truth was no longer suspicion. It was flesh and bone. And tomorrow, it would explode in my house. The next day, I cooked as though it were a holiday. A roast simmered, garlic perfumed the air, and the table wore its best cloth, the one embroidered with vines I'd stitched decades ago. But it wasn't celebration, it was preparation. Tonight, the truth would sit with us whether we wanted it or not. Michael came home first, weary from work, loosening his tie. He paused at the sight of the candles. Mom, what's all this? Just a family dinner, I said softly. We need it. Camilla swept in not long after, radiant in her pale blue dress, a calm smile on her lips. She kissed my cheek as if nothing had shifted in the world. Lucas ran in behind her, chattering about school, his small hands smudged with pencil lead. For a brief moment, the scene almost looked normal, like one of the photographs on our wall. But my chest throbbed with what I carried. I waited until we were all seated, bowls steaming, forks clinking, laughter fluttering faintly from Lucas's innocent voice. Then I cleared my throat. There are some people I've invited to join us. The door opened. Daniel stepped in, his pilot's uniform still crisp, his jaw set. Behind him came Isela, wearing a simple dress, her hair pulled back, face pale but determined. The room froze. Lucas's fork clattered to the floor. His little eyes darted between the two identical women. Why are there two moms? He whispered. Michael went rigid, his spoon slipping from his hand. Camilla shot up, her chair screeching against the floor. What is this, Evelyn? What game are you playing? I stood, my hands trembling on the edge of the table. No game. Tonight, we stop pretending. Camilla, this is your twin sister. You paid her to take your place. You've been deceiving this family. Camilla's face drained, then flushed red. That's absurd! Lies! She's an imposter! Daniel interrupted, dropping a folder onto the table. Passports and stamps spilled out. Camilla Rivera boarded my flight to Paris 3 days ago. I saw her in seat 2A. At the same time, she was here, in this house. The passport doesn't lie. Camilla's lips tightened. Her eyes darted toward Michael, searching for defense. but his gaze was locked on the documents, his hands trembling. Lucas tugged at my sleeve, his voice small but sharp as glass. "Grandma, I told you. Some days she hugs me, some days she's mean. I knew it wasn't the same." My heart cracked at the weight of his words. Even a child had seen what we adults refused to. The room thickened with silence until Lucy stepped forward from the doorway. Her voice was steady. I saw Camilla with Henry Doyle. They called each other darling. She wasn't working. She wasn't caring for her family. She was living another life. Michael's face twisted, grief warring with rage. He turned to his wife. "Tell me it isn't true. Tell me you didn't—" Camilla's composure snapped like glass under a boot. Her voice rose, sharp and venomous. "Fine. It's true. I was with Henry. He gives me the life I deserve, better than scraping by with you in this suffocating house. You—" "Michael, you'll never be enough. And your precious mother, always watching me, always judging me. Do you think I ever wanted to be part of this family?" Her words hit like blows. Lucas burst into tears, clutching my skirt. Michael's face crumpled, but his fist stayed rigid on the table. Camilla sneered, grabbed her purse, and stormed toward the door. Isela, trembling, whispered, "Sister, you didn't have to hurt them like this." Camilla shot her a glare colder than ice. "Stay out of my life, imposter." Then the door slammed shut behind her. The plate still steamed, the candle still burned, but the air had shifted. The family we thought we had was gone, shattered in the space of a confession. Lucas sobbed into my chest. Michael sat motionless, staring at nothing. Daniel clenched his jaw, the pilot who had navigated storms but could not steady this one. And I felt the walls of our home lean inward, heavy with betrayal. That night I wrote in my notebook with a hand that could barely hold the pen. Dinner, September 15th. Truth revealed. Camilla confessed to betrayal, left us with nothing but ruins. For 2 days after the storm of that dinner, silence was our companion. The kind of silence that doesn't heal, it festers. Michael walked like a ghost in his own house, shoulders hunched, eyes vacant. Lucas followed him like a shadow, confused, clinging to scraps of affection. I tried to hold them both together, but grief is a slippery thing. It leaks through the cracks of even the strongest hands. Then came Daniel's call late one evening. His voice was low, urgent. "Mom, you need to sit down. I just heard something." I sat at the kitchen table, my notebook open in front of me like a priest's Bible. "What is it, Daniel?" "Henry Doyle, the man Camilla left with." He paused, his breath tight. "He's married, has been for 20 years. Wife, kids, a whole estate. Camilla's not living in luxury. She's living in a lie." I overheard another crew member talking. Doyle's wife found out. "He's cutting Camilla off." The words should have felt like justice, but instead they sat heavy in my chest. Camilla had destroyed her marriage, shattered her child's trust, burned every bridge in our home, for a man who was already claimed. Betrayal had swallowed her, and now it would spit her out into nothing. I hung up and stared at the notebook. My last entry was still fresh, left us with nothing but ruins. Now another line scratched itself in my head. Even ruins can crumble further. The next week, Michael filed for divorce. He didn't rage. He didn't shout. He simply walked into the courthouse and signed, his face pale, his movements mechanical. When he came home, he told me quietly, "She didn't even look at me. She signed, walked away with Doyle. Didn't ask about Lucas. Not once." Lucas overheard. That night he crawled into my bed, small body trembling. "Grandma, why doesn't Mom want me?" I pressed him to my chest, my heart breaking. "She doesn't know how to love right, sweetheart. But you are wanted. You are loved." My words sounded strong, but inside I felt them crumble. No child should have to ask such a question. Isela began visiting often after that, bringing warm meals, folding laundry with quiet devotion, kneeling to help Lucas with his homework. One afternoon, I heard him call her Mom by mistake. He froze, cheeks red. But Isella smiled softly, kissed his hair, and said, "I'll always be here, Lucas." It should have been sweet, but a part of me recoiled. Camilla's betrayal had carved a wound too deep to patch with borrowed love. Michael noticed too. One evening, he stood in the doorway, watching Isella laugh with Lucas. His eyes softened, but there was something haunted in them. Later, he said to me, "She's kind. She reminds me of what Camilla pretended to be. But I don't know if I can trust myself anymore, Mom. I don't know if I'll ever believe in anyone again." His words cut deeper than Camilla's fury had.
Betrayal doesn't just end a marriage, it corrodes a soul. And me? I aged 10 years in those weeks. My hair seemed grayer each morning, my joints heavier. I had uncovered the truth, but truth had not set me free. It had chained me to grief, to the knowledge that I had watched a viper grow in my house, and only when it bit did I see its fangs. The punishment had come for Camilla, left by her lover, scorned, stripped of her place in our family. But punishment had come for us, too. Michael lived like a man exiled from his own heart. Lucas grew quieter, no longer laughing as easily. Even Isella, though kind, carried the guilt of being complicit, however desperate her reasons. One night, I sat on the porch, the air heavy with the scent of night jasmine. The house behind me was too quiet. I opened my notebook and wrote the final line. "The truth destroys as much as lies. Camilla lost everything, but so did we." I closed the notebook, tears blurring the ink. Margaret's words returned. Better a hard truth than a blind ruin. Perhaps she was right. But I wondered, staring at the moonlight slicing across the garden, whether sometimes blindness might be the kinder fate.